In this tutorial, I want to go one by one and explain to you my thought process for solving each of the multiple choice questions on the Scrimmage Chapter 2 test. If you need to, I would recommend pausing between each problem so that you have time to acclimate yourself and understand what the problem is asking you to solve. So on number one, the ultimate question is, about 5% of young men have heights outside of what range? So you have to really focus on what the question is asking us. And they want us to give a range of numbers that these gentlemen fall outside of. So 5%, well, my 68, 95, 99.7 rule, when I think of 95%, I know the opposite, the inverse of 95% is 5%. So if I know what the range of heights is for the 95%, then that leaves me 5% outside of that range. Kind of a tough problem, but what I did for you is I drew a picture of the normal curve and plus or minus 2 standard deviations gives me 95% of the men fall between 63 and 73 inches tall. So that leaves 5% of the population outside of that range. So B is the best answer here. Kind of tricky. Moving on to number 2, using the same data, it says we're asked what percentage of men are over 70.5 inches tall. Well, going back up to the original problem, if you wanted, you could actually do a normal CDF on this. So I'm going to actually add that in here. If you wanted to solve it as normal CDF, and then you could have your lower bound at 70.5. Your upper bound would be infinity because you're shading all the way to the right. Your mean is 68 and your standard deviation is 2.5. And the reason for this, the reason why I wrote it that way is the lower bound is 70.5 and we're shading to the right. You're going to still get approximately 16% as your answer when you plug that into your calculator. The other option is to use the 68, 95, 99.7 rule. I know it might be difficult for you to memorize these breakdowns and percentages, but that's another option. Add them all up and get 16 as your answer. Tricky, but not as tricky as number 1. The key word on number 3, and I apologize for it being a little fuzzy, the key word is density curve, and you have to understand that the definition of density is 100%. It's going to capture all of your data. So although you might not recognize that A is the best answer, hopefully you understand that this curve is definitely not symmetrical. It's not skewed right, it's actually skewed left. Nothing is ever completely normal. It could be approximately normal, but in this case, normal, remember, looks like that. So D is out. So then you have to make an educated guess between A and E. So hopefully you understand that area is 100% and 100% is equal to 1. And since we started at 0, according to this, it looks like 0 is right here. 1 is right here. That means 100% is going to fall underneath this curve if it's a density curve. A is the best answer. For number 4, we're still looking at the density curve. It says that the mean and the median are equal. Well, that would be true if the distribution was symmetrical, but it's not symmetrical. So we're going to rule out A. The mean is greater than the median. Remember, on a skewed distribution, the mean is being pulled in the direction of the tail. You have to know that. the median is going to be resistant, and the median will stay closer to the peak. So B is not true because the mean is probably going to be less than the median. The mean could be either greater than or less than the median. This is definitely not true. C is our best answer. The mean is less than the median. It's being pulled in the direction of the tail. On number 5, since the word is normal and we're dealing with z-scores, let me highlight normal and we're dealing with z's. If you recognize that the mean and the standard deviation, this is like huge. If you're dealing with z-scores, your mean is 0 and your standard deviation is 1. You can actually use the normal CDF button on your calculator to calculate this final probability. You don't have to show your work on multiple choice, but I decided to show you the work so that you could understand where I was getting C from. So C is our answer on number 5. Number 6, hopefully you did a little research and you looked up what a normal probability plot is. A normal probability plot will tell us if a distribution is approximately normal as long as all of the dots fall in a linear pattern and they're all spaced out roughly the same. This particular graph is not linear, and the spacing changes as you move right on the graph. So what this tells us is that it's not a normally distributed, it's not approximately normal. Nothing ever is completely normal, so A is definitely out. It's not approximately normal. This distribution is not skewed left because these guys here are the outliers and they're on the right side, so it's more likely to be skewed on the right. So left is not accurate. There are potential outliers. This one specifically is a potential outlier. So E is the best choice on number 6. For number 7, if your original data set is skewed, then your distribution of z-scores will remain skewed. So it's definitely not just going to switch to a normal distribution because you're calculating z-scores. So A is out and C is out. The transformed numbers or distribution is going to still be skewed right, but if you're switching to z-scores, your mean isn't going to stay 30. Your mean has to become 0 and your standard deviation has to become 1. So D is the best answer on number 7. Number 8 is big because it's super, super important that you understand that IQR is your 75th percentile minus your 25th percentile. So you got to mark up your graph, figure out where the 75th is, where's the 25th, get those lengths, subtract them, and you should find that D is the best answer. I don't know. So on number 9, hopefully you recall that a normal density curve is always symmetrical. Oops, having a hard time here. So it's always symmetrical. The curve, its peak is always going to be where the mean is. And then option 3 is out because 95% of the area, actually 95% of the area under the curve is within 2 standard deviations. So this should have been a 2. Had that been 2 standard deviations of the mean, then 3 would have been correct. But 3 is not correct. So option C is our best answer. And then number 10, I know it's a normal CDF problem because it tells me it's approximately normal, it gives me a mean, it gives me a standard deviation, and then I'm asked to calculate what proportion. What proportion is also synonymous with probability or percentage. So you're going to plug that into your calculator, and hopefully after you recognize your lower bound, your upper bound, mean, and standard deviation produces an answer of C. Again, on number 10, you don't have to show all of your work as long as you understand the procedure of typing it into your calculator. So that is the multiple choice in review. I am separating the multiple choice from the free response just because I want to make sure that you can understand them separately, and then if you need help with both, you can watch my second video. I hope this helps for your upcoming tests. Take care. Bye.